Now, on the way out, I'll tell you a little bit about the history of wine. There could be drier subjects. I promise I won't make puns the whole time. But we know that at least from 10,000 BC, there were peoples in Asia making wine out of rice and maybe even out of fruit as well. And so people have been drinking for 12,000 years, which is pretty incredible if you think about it. And there's actually some theories, of course not proved, but theories that say that perhaps we stopped our nomadic existence and actually settled and started farming just so that we could produce alcohol. Because, you know, you have to be... Sorry, I get a little distracted by the crazy traffic around here. Understandably so. Because of course you have to be, you know, somewhat staying in one place to actually go through the whole process of making and fermenting and things like that. Now, in the Western world, some of our oldest references to wine go back all the way to the Punic Wars. We know that in the 6th century BC, when Rome and Carthage were fighting, that a lot of times they would burn down each other's libraries in an attempt not only to, you know, conquer the army, but also conquer the culture as well. And guess what the first books they saved were from the burning libraries? The books on how to make wine. And so, you know, at least they had all their priorities straight even back then. But we also hear a lot about the symposiums that happened in ancient Greece, for example. So the symposium was really, well, it was set up to be for the upper class, and you were meant to lie around on these couches where you would dine and drink wine, and the wine was instrumental. It was important for the conversation, said to loosen the tongue, of course, as it does today as well. But you used to have these upper class Greeks who would, you know, lounge around and talk about philosophy and mathematics and religion and politics and all those things. And the wine was considered to be one of the most important aspects of the symposium. Now, just like today, it was a little uncouth to get too drunk, and so if you started rolling off your couch, I don't know, they would take you to a room. One of your slaves would take you to a room that was called the vomitorium, and you know what would happen there? It would just be a way for you to sober up a bit so that you could go back to the party. And very formally, you would be offered on these bronze plates your choice of catalyst. They had charcoal that you could ingest to help with this process, or vinegar, or bad goat's milk. Oysters was another one of the choices. And so after you sobered up, you were allowed to go back to the party. And not only could you start drinking again, then you could feast all over again as well. This was very, very popular back in ancient Greece. Now, of course, no women, right? Unless, of course, you were a slave or a prostitute. But there wouldn't have been any women allowed to engage in conversation at the symposiums. And in fact, it was largely illegal for women to drink all the way up until the 1st century BC. And in fact, in ancient Rome, it was absolutely legal for you to kill your wife if she came home drunk. It was within your laws as husband. You could legally do that. And so it wasn't until the 1st century BC that wine became so popular that it started to become a part of the diet. And so in many parts of the empire, not so much in Rome, but in other parts of the empire, you know, you didn't always know if the water was safe to drink. And so a lot of times you'd drink wine instead, just because the water, you know, sometimes wasn't as reliable as the wine was.